Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Microsoft Surface Pro 2. Now, I covered the original Surface Pro roughly a year ago, and it was a groundbreaking product, not only because it was the first computer manufactured by Microsoft, but also, more importantly, because it was a tablet. Now, other manufacturers clearly have made attempts at trying to deliver the best of both worlds, but Microsoft, both financially and in terms of being the largest software maker in the world, certainly seemed to have an advantage, and the Surface Pro was a fine piece of hardware. So high expectations here on the second version. In terms of aesthetics, what you're about to see come out of the box is virtually identical, at least in terms of looks, but more importantly, a Haswell 4th Gen i5 CPU from Intel is powering this experience. We also get Windows 8.1, something that, of course, was not in existence back when the original Surface Pro launched. Also, now if you pick up a Type or Touch cover, which are 120 and 130 respectively, they actually have backlighting now, something that of course was missing from the first generation. So a lot of enhancements here, the same screen in terms of 1080p resolution, but otherwise just about everything has improved. Wi-Fi chipset, Bluetooth 4.0 now here, ABG and N in that new chipset. I believe it also supports, since I think it's an Intel Wi-Fi chipset, but of course I'll stand corrected if not. We now have the ability to stream wirelessly, something that unfortunately was not present on the first generation. So with that said, let me get this out of the box. This is the 128 gigabyte version, which is priced at $999.99. So this is the $1,000 price point. That's another nice thing about this new generation, is that you can pick it up in various different capacities. And of course different price points. So if you want to pick up the 64 or 128 like we're about to look at here, those are both under $1,000. They both only have 4 gigs of RAM. If you decide to bump it up to 256 or 512, again, capacities that did not exist in the first generation, you will be able to get not only larger storage capacity, but also the benefit of going up to 8 gigs of RAM. So clearly, Microsoft trying to cater to a wider variety of customer, also acknowledging the fact that the demand is clearly there to have a true computing solution, because even though this is a Haswell processor, it is a low voltage chip, but nonetheless, that's the same chip you're going to find in pretty much every Ultrabook on the market. So this is a really nice piece of hardware. Again, build quality, top notch. You're really not going to find anything made better, in my opinion. And that's, one of the keys to Microsoft's success with this product. They have their own patent on the actual build materials, and the finish is just phenomenal. As you can see, we've got a rear camera right there. The kickstand has also been modified in this version. As you can see right now, I'm going to show you. So on the original, this was the kickstand range of motion, or excuse me. Yes. Now we have the expanded kickstand so that you have a better viewing angle for when you're looking down at the tablet as opposed to sitting in front of it for traditional productivity. So position 2 right there and position 1. And it's really a bigger improvement than it might seem, at least on the surface. Not to be cute, but it's true. Same connection type down at the bottom for docking the Type or Touch cover. Couldn't get my hands on either of the covers yet. There are new versions. Don't think that you have to pick up the old ones, although I'm pretty sure, of course, they are compatible. On the right side of this tablet, you can see we have right here our Pogo charging port. Something, again, these are all the same things that we've seen on the previous generation. We've got a speaker port right there, as well as, I believe that's our display port out right there. Up at the top, we have a microphone, our power button, this is really technically the top right side of the tablet. On the left-hand side, we have our lone USB port right there, a volume rocker, and our 3.5mm headphone jack. So virtually an identical build, front-facing webcam, of course, ambient light sensor for adjusting auto brightness with the screen, high gloss finish, as I mentioned, the same 1080p display. Let me see if it powers up right now. Just see if can get anything for you guys here. And I'm not expecting to really see a difference in the display. Again, this is all about the fact that now we've got Haswell, which means greater battery life. As I mentioned, better Wi-Fi connectivity, or at least that's what is promised on paper. A better experience with the keyboards. There's even a powered keyboard, supposedly. I'm pretty sure that we're going to see down the road. So that would be another great feature in order to extend battery life, which from what I've heard is ranging between 6 and 8 hours, depending on your usage type, which is a pretty big improvement from the original. Of course, we're not going to see 10 hours out of this, but to go from 4.5 to 5 up to between 6 and 8 is definitely an improvement. So there you can see I'm just at the startup screen. I'm not going to take it through that right now. Of course, haptic feedback, just like the original on the actual Windows button there on the front screen, but just really great build quality. I mean, that's what this product is all about. The fingerprints also do disappear, as you may notice, relatively quickly. So I like the soft finish on this, and just anyone who doesn't like this hardware, I'm not sure what they're seeing or holding. But let me put this aside and take you through the balance of the contents of the box. We've got our charging brick right here, which is fairly standard, nothing new. Very similar to the last generation. And then, of course, the wall adapter, which connects to it. And not sure what charging time is going to be like on this. That'll be an interesting thing to experiment with, of course, and see. Another thing that I'll be reporting back. The Pogo port I mentioned before, the magnetic attachment on the side, that is for your stylus pen. So, of course, you can dock that. There weren't nothing, as far as I know, was ever developed beyond that for this port, so I shouldn't have really called it that earlier. Stand corrected. That is really just for clipping on the pen. And overall, that is one of the biggest selling points of this tablet, is that, again, when it comes to a digitized experience for Windows 8.1, you aren't going to find anything better than reference hardware from Microsoft. And then basically the only other thing in the box, some paperwork welcoming you to the Surface Pro experience, and I'm sure pushing SkyDrive, as well as probably Skype, all the things that you would expect to eventually use at one point or another with the Surface Pro. So again, really excited to finally get this in my hands. A lot of new things under the hood, new processor, new storage options with memory, as I mentioned. Of course, a wide array of price points. We now go from 900 at the 64 gig end, all the way up to, I believe, 1800 for the 512, and that's without a keyboard. I know a lot of people wish a keyboard was included with this tablet. I understand why, but after all, you have to realize this was a tablet built from the ground up by Microsoft, and it's so far it's doing quite a nice job, because apparently they had no problem expanding the line. I think had the first generation had a tough go, we would not have seen an expansion in the actual line to 4 different models, especially also the accessories being beefed up. So all the polish that arguably was missing, again, Microsoft listening to customer feedback. These are good things. Excited to share Surface Pro 2 with all of you as I spend more time with it. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.